Hello and welcome to IB Biology Notes with Dr. Kimmo. This is Rapid Revision A1.2 Nucleic Acids. DNA carries information of life. It is the genetic material of all living things. Nucleic acids like DNA and RNA are polymers. They are made up of monomers called nucleotides. Nucleotides have three components: a phosphate group, a pentose sugar, and a nitrogenous base. Nucleotides bind to each other through covalent phosphodiester bonds between sugar and phosphate group. So we say that DNA and RNA have a sugar-phosphate backbone. DNA has four different types of bases: adenine, thymine, guanine, and cytosine. These bases are like the letters in the book of life. RNA also has four different types of bases. Instead of thymine, there's uracil. When a new nucleotide adds to a growing RNA molecule, water is released. So this reaction is called a condensation reaction. DNA is a double helix. There are two nucleotide strands which run anti-parallel to each other. The two strands are connected by hydrogen bonds between nitrogenous bases. Adenine forms hydrogen bonds with thymine, and guanine forms hydrogen bonds with cytosine. Adenine and thymine form a complementary base pair, just like guanine and cytosine form a complementary base pair. DNA and RNA differ in three important ways: the number of strands, 2 versus 1, the bases, ATGC versus AUGC, and the sugar, deoxyribose versus ribose. Complementary base pairing is important for DNA replication. It is also important for DNA transcription and for translation. The diversity of possible DNA base sequences and the capacity of DNA for storing information are basically unlimited. In computers, there are two types of bits, 0 and 1. In DNA, there are four types of bits, ATGC. Even for a short 50 base sequence, the number of possibilities is 5 to the power of 50. That's a number with 30 zeros. The average human gene has more than 50 million bases, so enormous amounts of information can be stored efficiently in DNA in a very limited space. Proteins consist of amino acids, and the DNA code contains information about which amino acids and in which order a protein should consist of. DNA can contain 64 different base triplets, and each of them has a meaning. Most of them correspond to a specific amino acid. Amazingly, this genetic code is identical in all living organisms, even in viruses. This is another piece of evidence of universal common ancestry for all life on Earth. Higher level. In nucleotides, the carbon atoms in the sugar are labeled 1' to 5'. Strands are formed by bonds between the 3' carbon of one nucleotide and the phosphate group, which is attached to the 5' carbon of another nucleotide. As a consequence, RNA and DNA strands have a 5' end and a 3' end. They have directionality. Directionality is important in replication, transcription, and translation, which all occur in a 5' to 3' direction. Adenine and guanine have two rings. They are purines. Thymine and cytosine have one ring. They are pyrimidines. Each complementary base pair has one purine and one pyrimidine. It means that there's always 3 rings between the two strands. This contributes to the stability of the double helix. A human cell has about 2 meters of DNA, and it only fits in the nucleus because it's densely packed in a highly organized way. The smallest unit of organization is the nucleosome. It consists of 9 histone proteins and about 150 base pairs. There are viruses called bacteriophages or phages, and they only infect bacteria. When they do infect bacteria, they insert their genetic material into the bacteria. And Hershey and Chase wanted to find out what this genetic material is made of. They designed two parallel experiments. In one, they used phages with radioactively labeled protein. In the other one, they used phages with radioactively labeled DNA. They then allowed the phages to infect bacteria. Afterwards, they observed that there was a lot of radioactively labeled DNA in the pellet, but not that much radioactively labeled protein. The pellet is where the cells end up, at the bottom of the tube. So Hershey and Chase concluded that DNA is the genetic material. Before anyone knew about complementary base pairing, Erwin Chargaff showed that in DNA, the amounts of adenine and thymine are equal, and the amounts of guanine and cytosine are equal. That's all for now. See you next time.